All right, Wednesday, October 29th, 2008. Department to Part 2, Department of Labor. Part 2, Department of Labor, Employment and Training Administration. Title 29 CFR Part 29, Apprenticeship Program Labor Standards Registration Amendment Regulations Final Rule. All right, Department of Labor, Employment and Training Administration, Title 29, CFR Part 29, RIN 1205, AB 50, Apprenticeship Program Labor Standards with Registration Amendment of Regulations. Agency, Employment and Training Administration, Labor Action Final Rule. Some of the Department of Labor is issuing the final rule for the updated regulation for the implementing National Apprenticeship Act of 1937, Title 29 U.S. Standard Code 50. The Department of Labor has issued notice of proposed rulemaking on December 13, 2017. Outlining procedures updated with the Labor Standard Policy Procedure with the Regulation Cancellation Deregistration of the Apprenticeship Programs Apprenticeship Agreement Administration of the National Apprenticeship System of the Title 72 Federal Register 71020 December 13, 2007. Date effective date, the final ruling becomes effective December 29, 2008. Further information for the John Ladd Administrative Office of the Apprenticeship 200 Constitution Avenue, Northwest Room, North 50th N 5311, Washington, D.C. 20210. Email at ladd.john at DOL, the government. Telephone 202-693-2796. This is not a toll-free number, and 877-889-5627 is CTLL. Supplementary information. This is a preamble divided into three sections. Section 1 provides the general background information for the development of the final rule. Section 2 discusses the comments for the regulatory changes, challenges, and changes in the final ruling. Section 3 covers the administrative requirements for the final rule mandated by the statute executive order. The background: on December 13, 2007, the Department published the NPRM, or the 72 Title FFR, Federal Register 71020, December 13, 2007. Proposing revising regulation implementing National Apprenticeship Act of 1937. We initially invited the comments for the 60-day period through February 12, 2008. Several comments submitted with the request for the extension of the comment period. In response, we published a notice for the Title 72 on the Federal Register 7693 to February 11, 2008. Extended the comment period by the 30 days of the comment period closed with the March 12, 2008. Unique individuals' comments received during the comment period. Following publication of the National NPRM having the public the regulation government, although considered all the comments duplicated, but the copies of the comments were not posted. The National Apprenticeship Act of 1937 is authorized by the Department of Labor to formulate to promote the furtherance of labor standard necessary for the safeguard of welfare apprenticeship to the extent of the application for each of the standard encouraging the exclusion in the contract for the apprenticeship to begin with the bring together employers and labor with the formulation of the programs of apprenticeship to incorporate with the state agencies engaged with the formulation and promotion of the standard apprenticeship. The Department promulgated the regulation implementation of the National Apprenticeship Act of 1977. The regulation governed the National Apprenticeship System in which the department, state agencies, industry leader, employers, employer association, and labor management organizations, primarily consisting of the labor organization and employers. The educational institution collaborative development operated with oversees the apprenticeship program that draw on skills and knowledge for the business industry need from its employees to ensure apprenticeship develop up-to-date relevant skills within 30 years since the department and its partner of the National Apprenticeship System has recognized that the technological advance, the demographic change, with the globalization significance altered with the context within which the apprenticeship programs operated with the department. The department is partnered for the registered apprenticeship to keep these changes to continue with the apprenticeship vital role of developing a skilled, competitive workforce with the regulatory framework of the registration apprenticeship programs administered by the National Apprenticeship System must be updated. For example, many of the program sponsors have requested more flexibility and requirements for the provision related to technical instruction. Other program sponsors, particularly in an industry that have not traditionally used the registered apprenticeship, have sought flexibility with requirements for length of time in the on-job learning components, so that the apprenticeships could be progress towards the program completion based on a demonstration of the competency of the Government Accountability Office of August 2005. Report registered apprenticeship program labor can be better off use the data of the target oversight and the Office of the Management and Budget Proposal Assessing Rating Tool, or PART. Review of the registered apprenticeship have the emphasize the need for the improvement of the program quality, accountability of the National Apprenticeship System. December 13th, 2000, NPRM proposed the 29 Entitled Federal Regulations, Part 29, based on the development and consultation with the Advisory Committee of the Apprenticeship of the ACA, National Association of the State Territorial Apprenticeship Director of the State Apprenticeship of the Agency. The final rule implemented with the Title 29 CFR Part 29 that will increase flexibility, enhance the program quality and accountability, promote the apprenticeship of opportunity in the 21st century with the continuing to safeguard the welfare apprenticeship. In addition, with the specific changes discussed below, where we have made minor editorial changes through the final rule. The final rule takes effect September 29, 2008, with however the states will have up to 2 years period in which to make the change of the state law of the regulation policy needed to come to compliance with the final rule before having applying to the continued regulation under the Title Statute 2913C. But the department will work with the states and must make it seamless as possible the transition of state laws recognized under the current regulation of the state laws recognized under the final rule. Alright, 2. The discussion, comments, regulatory changes. The summary of the comment. The department received the 2,660 submissions of the NPRM, closed the current comment period. All the comments were carefully reviewed, but they found 2,437 to be covered letters form with the letters duplicated for the preponderance of which were from members of the Signal Employer Application Association supporting the proposed regulated changes. Of 223, the non-duplicated comments, the majority were from Labor Organization Employer Association with the response to the Registered Apprenticeship Program, state government entities. All relevant comments are discussed below. With the response to these comments, we be several substantive changes which are discussed below. The 25 commenters expressed the general support for the NPRM. I agree with the proposed change with the update with the improve the advance of the mission of the National Apprenticeship System to meet the needs of the today industry economy. Of the other commenters are generally commended for the Department of improving, promoting registered apprenticeship of the National Apprenticeship System. The 25 commenters generally preferred a current regulator framework with the registered apprenticeship over the proposed changes, stating with the current regulations work well with the proposed changes if necessary. Will receive the comments indicating the disapproval of the proposed changes due to the concern for the potential impact of the state agency. The additional comments for the suggestion for the proposed changes. In certain apprenticeship programs more than other few commenters disapprove of the proposed change due to the potential implication of the apprenticeship discussion of the committee comments. Purpose of the code. Few of the comments agree with the additional proposed scope of the phrase for the promoted apprenticeship opportunity denoted with the additional fundamental objective of the National Apprenticeship Act that should be especially included with the Department of Labor regulations after the review of the comments with the promulgate the rule of the proposed definition of the statute 29.2 to clarify the designation existing definitions, establish new definition for the certain term for the use of the registration of apprenticeship programs and ongoing operation for the National Apprenticeship System. They propose carrying forward with the following existing definition for the term and define with the original regulations: administrative of the apprenticeship program, cancellation of the department of the employer, the federal purpose of the registration of the apprenticeship agreement, registration of the apprenticeship program sponsor and state. Accordingly, we do not invite the comments within these terms. Similar to the final carries forward with the definition of the term contained with the existing regulation with the proposed new amended definitions. We did not receive the comment the definition of office of apprenticeship and registration from the agency, the technical assistance, and the state office. We need no change with the proposed definition of the term that we received one of the comment and definition in general. The commenter we received one comment with the definition in general, with the commenter argued with the Title 29 Part 2 with the require the state apprenticeship to control the direct state of the Apprenticeship Council, reversing the traditional authority without any of the clear exemption of the department that wants to change with the council of the agency. The relation of the commenter also asserted with the definition of any authorized intrusion of the state legislative rights with the representative responsibility determined that the state apprenticeship agency is the appropriate entity to receive the department of the grant of the authority to register the apprenticeship program, the apprenticeship of the federal purpose of the reason enumerated below with the required with the state apprenticeship agency to determine the role of the state apprenticeship council under the existing regulatory scheme. The department oversight of the national apprenticeship system has been complicated with the fact the state of the registration agencies are and state apprenticeship councils vary with the considerable with the policy procedure for the administrative with the registrative apprenticeship for the federal purpose. For example, we found it difficult to hold the state apprenticeship council accountable for the conformity with the requirements of Part 29 because the council are sometimes compromised with an independent appointed with the individuals who may not be answerable with the state government agency that actually operate with the daily function for the registered apprenticeship for the federal purpose of the state. And in other cases, for the state apprenticeship council, limited involvement with the full operation for the state registered apprenticeship operation independent with the department working with the relationship with the state apprenticeship council. In other stances, the state apprenticeship council have not made a determination about the approval of the apprenticeship program standing for the timely manner in order to achieve the consistency with the national apprenticeship system for the promotion of the registered apprenticeship opportunity for the registration of apprenticeship standards to meet the requirements for this part. We determine the relationship between the federal government and entities that act on the behalf of the must be to the government agency, the Department of Labor, the cabinet level, the government agency, and each of the state government that operates the manage of the function of the registered apprenticeship in the state. At the same time, we recognize considerable value for the state apprenticeship council to provide the promotion and establishment of apprenticeship program. The state apprenticeship council members are often closely associated with the apprenticeship program sponsor but can directly facilitate links between the apprenticeship program sponsor. It's explained below with the discussion 2913 to A2, but the seeking of the recognition of the Department of the Civil Council with the establishment of the state apprenticeship council provides the regulatory purpose of the revised regulatory framework. The state has been recognized, but the state apprenticeship council must operate the direction of the state apprenticeship agency. And again, with the full consideration, general comment, and the impact of the proposed definitions on relations between the state apprenticeship council and the state apprenticeship agency, we promulgate the definition for the state apprenticeship agency and the state apprenticeship council is proposed. The apprenticeship committee, the five commenters are addressed with the proposed definition. Apprenticeship committee will clarify that the apprenticeship agreement is between the apprenticeship and either the apprenticeship of the program sponsored for the apprenticeship committee, acting as an agent for the program sponsored for the commenter, supported with the definition proposed for the commenter, noted that use of the term worker may be confusing with the parenthetical notation in paragraph B, with which defines the non-joint committees as unilateral group. Non-joint may be included with the workers' committee, with which has employer representative but does not have the bona fide collective bargain with agreement. The participation of the commenter suggested for the consisting of the term of the employer should replace the worker. The any commenter for the incumbent workforce for the program sponsor for the stakeholder should be included in the definition of apprenticeship of the committee with regard to the staff of the collective bargaining agreement in the program sponsor workplace. Another commenter recommended that the paragraph recommended removing the terms non-joint in paragraph B with the joint within paragraph A with the specified that the joint committee is composed of the equal number of the representatives employed of the employees with the representative of the bona fide collective bargaining agreement. The commenter suggested the phrase in unilateral group, which should include the equal number of the employer of the employees, and another commenter suggested the proposed change with which the apprenticeship with the committee acts as an agent of the apprenticeship of the program sponsor, but is not apprenticeship of the program sponsor, but is subordinate with the apprenticeship of the program sponsor for the period to be inconsistent with the core concept with the Employee Retirement Income Act, Security Act of 1974. It responds, but we agree with the suggestion of the use of the term of the workers in place with employees with confusion, so we have the change with the definition replaced with the workers with employees in paragraph 2, but we do not agree with the suggestion to delete the terms joint and non-joint. The commenter suggested the replacement working does not adequately provide the flexibility needed to address the variety of the circumstances faced by the apprenticeship committee across the nation in order to advance with the term of the joint and non-joint, the problematic with the term are well recognized in use throughout the national apprenticeship system. Accordingly, we have kept the terms joint and non-joint, and we also do not agree with the suggestion program sponsoring incumbent workforce should be required members of the apprenticeship committee with the determination, including the employees on the apprenticeship committees must be properly addressed by the program sponsored by the Department of Labor. As mentioned, one of the comment noted that the definition of apprenticeship committee may be inconsistent with the ERISA because it might meet the reads as the apprenticeship committee to also act with the sponsoring interest rather than in the interest of the participant with the committee with the carrying out the fiduciary relationship. Although we do not have to agree with the reading of the definition, we modify the definition to avoid the confusion of this point. Alright, certification and certificate. Three comments are expressed with the concern for the potential effects of the paragraph 1A with the proposed definition, certification, certificate on the individual program, but currently for the state-approved industry study, standards of state approved with the industry standards for paragraph A with the provided for the order with the receive the certification for the original apprenticeship, the national guideline for the apprenticeship standard, which are developed in the national committee with the organization policy or the guideline for the local affiliates with the conform to the standards of apprenticeship set forth in statute 29.5 with the commenter state with the apprenticeship This is common state with the standard approved with the state apprenticeship agencies or more trade-specific protective agencies. It's protective of apprenticeship and safety than the any proposed national guideline for the apprenticeship standard. They also stated what would be problematic, allowing the outside of the national committee with the organization to dictate the direction of the individual programs. Include the national guidelines for the apprenticeship standards will be eroded with the apprenticeship standard with the trade and blend with the multiple trades in one standard. In addition, with a few commenters question with the would set with the standards and national guideline for the apprenticeship standards. Response to the comments appear with a reflexive misunderstanding of the current definition of the certification and or certificate of the purpose of the national guideline for the apprenticeship standards. Their established definition of certification is existing regulations that provide the policy guidance for the local affiliated of the national organization developing the standard for the approval of the registration. National guidelines are developed with the national committee for the organization unilateral or specified or certified with the Department of Labor. The apprenticeship is substantially conforming with the requirements of Title 29 CFR Part 2930. The local affiliates develop a local standard registration, even though the local standards may be based on organization national guideline standards that they must meet all the requirements of the or above the proof of the registration agency for the state Thus, the approval of the National Guard for the National Guideline for the Apprenticeship Standards no way preclude the state apprenticeship for the agency local spine for developing the apprenticeship standards. The more trade-specific protective the flexibility does not, however, the authority or authorize the state apprenticeship agency to develop the approve of the standard for them properly with the restricted registered apprenticeship opportunity. There were a program promulgating the definition of the certificate or certificate as proposed. Our competency. 16 commenters weighed on the proposed definition competency, which means for the attainment of the manual technical skills knowledge and specified in the occupational standards. Many with expressed apprehensive over the implication of the definition suggestion that it does not clearly articulate how the competency will be measured on the set of the validated is the industry and the trade-specific standards. Other note of the definition does not mandate a specific type of the training on the job of the classroom that are over the critical meeting of the industry, except the guidelines, journey level of staff, the volume of the race concerned with the definition, journey worker status will determine the subject of the manner without strict standard for the objective program and administration response. We agree that the definition needed to address the measurement of competency with a greater specificity. Therefore, we revive the proposed definition to promote the attainment of the manual of the mechanical technical skill of the knowledge as specified with the occupational standard demonstrated with the appropriate written hands-on measurement of the provision to align with the criteria for the apprenticeship occupation established under Statute 29.4c. For the final rule adds on the term mechanical as a descriptor of the skills and knowledge that they attain. Required concern for the definition does not require the specific testing and types of the training of the journey worker status will determine the subject of the manner we can conclude with the apprenticeship program flexibility when stating the requirement for the training of the attainment of the journey worker status of the program standard will contain the accounting of the circumstance in particular with the occupation program. In addition, we note that the requirement for the apprenticeship below occupation include the on-and-job learning specified in the Statute 29.4c with the requirement for the apprenticeship of the program standard for the include on-the-job learning Statute 29.5b2 and the related instructions concerned and specified in 29.5b4 addressed as concern regarding with the specific training. Therefore, we do not adopt these comments that favor the more of the prescriptive approach for those matter for the definition of competency. Completion rate. Several commenters requested the formal definition of the term completion rate with the same further the guidance necessary for the evaluating program performance based on completion rate. Response: we agree to the definition of the complete with the readiness for the facilitate the compliance with the requirement of the Statute 29.6 for the evaluate the performance apprenticeship program with critical component with the strengthening accountability of the program outcome. With the final rule, add the definition for the term of the completion for the mean with the percentage for the apprenticeship cohort with the receive the certificate of the apprenticeship completion within 1 year of the projected completion date. And an apprenticeship of the cohort, the group of the individual apprentices registered for the specific program during 1 year time frame. The definition consistent with the methodology used for the federal employment training programs, which measure for the outcomes by the calculating rule, rate the program participation successfully achieved the specific outcome with entering employment and the retaining employment consistent with the methodology will minimize the implementation burden with the registered agency, will further align with the registered agent apprenticeship with the other workforce investment programs. Electronic media. Although the commenters did not provide any comments with the proposed definition, electronic media may be raised a concern, but the use of electronic media proposed revision related to instruction could be supplement, reduce elimination of the apprenticeship interface with the instruction of the lab of the classroom setting. They emphasize the importance of classroom and the hand-on learning with the successful acquisition of the skill of the knowledge necessary for the completion of the apprenticeship program. We recognize the validity of the concern with the address for further the discussion 29.5 of the B4. However, they were determined the inclusion with electronic media definition related instruction necessary for the lining of the national apprenticeship system with the technology advanced and delivered related instruction. We have now changed the proposed definition of electronic media. Interim credentials. Some commenters suggest that the proposed definition of the interim credentials with the credential and issue with the registered agency upon the request for the sponsored certification compliant competency of the attainment of the apprenticeship does not sufficiently include the requirements of the receipt to meet the objective of the external stamp that associates subject matter with the interim credential that issue with the other served with the different definition of the interim credential, the definition for the meaning of the significant status of the journey work, the use of the interim credentials. National Apprenticeship Service System may serve as a disincentive to completing an apprenticeship program. Response: we recognize the concern addressed below in our discussion requirement of the program standard 29.5b. We have made no change to the proposed definition term credential, but the issuance of the term interim credentials may determine if the program sponsorship is appropriate for the apprenticeship progression through the apprenticeship program, the competency-based, the time-based, the hybrid. The program sponsor may identify with all the interim credentials of the program standards. They're registered with the registration agency. The interim credentials may be issued with the industry recognized for the components of the apprenticeship occupation. Therefore, if any of the apprenticeship program standards that do not include the provision of issuance of the interim credential for the specified the components of the apprenticeship occupation, the registration agency with the program registered may not use the interim credentials of the apprenticeship registered with that program. Reiterate the interim credentials that are used with the registration agency with request of the appropriate sponsor certification of apprenticeship for the attainment of the competency. Further, the regulations do not require the program sponsor to the interim of the credentials of the program sponsor. Program standards, in order they require the sponsor to request with the registration agency for the interim credential for the apprenticeship registered for the apprenticeship program. The department also recognizes some of the registered agencies may find the issuance of interim credentials to be unduly burdensome, may be beyond their capability. Therefore, the registry agency, other than the Office of Apprenticeship, may opt not to offer the additional services. We have completed that they have revised the regulatory frame with a Z-track with the overall goal of the national apprenticeship system to support and enable the practice of apprenticeship complete with the apprenticeship program. The authorization and term credential for the national apprenticeship system recognize some of the industry occupation more than amenable to increment recognition of the apprenticeship increasing skills, knowledge, abilities in such industry with the interim credentials can thereby afford multiple opportunities for the apprenticeship to grow, expand their knowledge and their capacity to meet the current new emerging industry advances. Use of the interim credentials are recognized for the fact that not all the apprenticeship complete with the apprenticeship program offer the opportunity for the recognition where the individuals have learned. Their interim credentials will also enable apprentices to obtain portable credential compensatory with the skills and competency required for the demonstrated through an apprenticeship. Notwithstanding the value of the interim credential for the issuance of the certification of completion of the apprenticeship associated with the journeyman worker status remains the ultimate goal of the national apprenticeship system. Journeyman worker 10 comments submitted on the proposed definition of the journeyman worker. One commenter requested inserting the words ability of the definition to read with the worker will attain a level of skill and ability competency recognized within the industry, asserting the use of the term and ability to provide through the recognition of the journeyman worker qualifications. Multiple comments recommended the industry standard the definition of the journeyman worker, asserting that the permitting the employees to recognize the definition of leave with the national apprenticeship system open to abuse. Others asserted that expanding the term to refer to the mentor, technician, specialist, or skilled worker gave the employer authority to determine the journeyman worker status. One commenter argued the retention of the term of the journeyman worker because its traditional sense is not and has not been gender specific, that it refers to the rank and status of the skilled trade. Response: we agree with this proposed to expand with the definition include abilities. We revive the definition cornered with the disagree with the assertion of granting the individual employer the authority to designate the journeyman worker staff. The term of the journeyman worker will be subject with the review for the national apprenticeship system. Currently, program sponsors designate an individual with the journeyman worker. The individual sufficient skills, ability to compensate to recognize with the employer as his journeyman worker. The revised regulatory framework carried with the forward approach currently used in the national apprenticeship system. With regard with the use of the term journeyman worker, the Department of Labor is committed to avoid using the terms more appear to the gender specific even in the historical usage that has not been so. We disagree with the assertion that the term journeyman is not gender specific. According with the final rule retains that the term journey worker. Provision registration. Several comments have proposed the provision 29.3G and 29.3H regarding the provision registration, including the proposed definition of the provisional registration did not adequately specifically process which the provision registered program would receive permanent registration consistent with the provisional registration recession and registration. We agree with these comments that they have clarified the requirements of expanding with the definition of provisional registration that refer to the relatively criteria with the 29.3G and 23.9H. We provide the provisional registration review of the provisional registered program. These additionals will avoid any ambiguity between the proposed definition of provisional registration and the 29.2 with a subsequently opportunity for the additional review the removal of the provision status for the first full training cycle with according with the defined with the rule of the provision registration is then defined in the first year initial approval of the new year registered program with the required standard for the program registration. After the program approval may be made but permanent continued as provisional or the resigning of the following review by the registration agency as provided in criteria described in 29.3G and 29.3H. Quality assurance and assessment. In the discussion of the program performance standard for the proposed 29.6 for the commenter for the commented establishing clear definition for the quality assurance assessment. Response, we agree with the 29.6 will be improved with the additional former definition of quality assurance assessment for the program assess and consistent with the fair with the cross for the national apprenticeship system. According to the final rule, quality assurance assessment means the comprehensive review was conducted with the registration agency regardless of all the aspects and all the apprenticeship program performance, including nominated to determining the apprenticeship of the receiving on-the-job training in all phases of the apprenticeship occupation scheduled with wage increase with the consistent with the registered standard related instruction through the appropriate curriculum delivering system that the registration agency is receiving the notification of all the new registration cancellation completions required by in this part with the definition codified for the Office of Apprentice existing practice of reviewing the program with a quality based with the factors described above. The registration agency. The commenter asserted that by the expanding the definition of registration agency include the registration apprenticeship of the program that provide the technical assistance conducting the review of the compliance with the Part 29 and 30 with the quality assurance assessment. The department is attempting to retain with the service of the state apprenticeship of the agency with the federal funding state legislative approval of the response. We disagree with these associations of the definition of registered agency confines with the existing practice of national apprenticeship system of the registered agency, whether if the office of the apprenticeship of the recognized state with the apprenticeship agency provides guidance assistance with the help of the program comply with the part with the review of the registered program of the registered apprenticeship program, review the functions necessary to properly administer the national apprenticeship system. Further, the definition intended for the emphasize the consistency with the national apprenticeship system, regardless of the type of the support for the system of the registered apprenticeship program sponsor should receive the registration agency, regardless of the geographical location, should be noted with the state apprenticeship agency recognition with the general registration agency for the purpose of the voluntary. We have made no change with the proposed definition of registered agency. Related instruction. Several commenters noted that the proposed separation of the apprenticeship and theoretical instruction for the two terms related technical instruction, supplemental instruction creates an undue complication with the other. The demands for the commenter prayed with addition supplemental instruction stating that such instruction will increase the opportunity for the learning as well as to provide additional opportunity to create and ensure equitable classroom worksite environments. Other commenters asserted that the related instruction should not be limited to the core requirements. Further, the commenters not satisfied noted that the safety process are limited, like CPR and first aid training may be part of the related training or for many of that apprenticeable occupations experienced with the concern of valuable training would be marginalized. Response: we agree with the commenters raised the valid concern that we have therefore to delete with the proposed division and supplemental instruction that are in the intent in separating with the two terms. We're clarifying with the instruction specific with the particular with the occupation related instruction and instruction with the relevant but not necessary with the occupational specific supplemental instruction. However, we recognize the proposed element with the supplemental instruction of such as the job site management, leadership, communication, first aid, CPR, field trips, new technology projects, with particular those of the protecting health and safety that have been long-standing the facets of the term related instruction. The final rule retains the existing term of the related instruction, thus carries forward the existing practice of the national apprenticeship system, which the incorporated the comments with the proposed definition supplemental instruction. We also have deleted the term core for the definition related instruction to indicate that all the comments of the related instruction are related to the occupation and are important with the apprenticeship program, whether they are occupational specific, whether they as also we have also added a comment after the phrase such instruction may be given to the classroom to make the definition consistent with the substantial provisions of the statute 29.5b4. Therefore, the final rule related to instruction means that an organized, systematic form of the instruction designed to provide this apprenticeship with knowledgeable theoretical technical subjects related to the apprenticeship occupation. Such instruction may be given in the classroom through occupational industrial courses or correspondence courses of the equivalent value of the electronic media, other forms, and self-study approved by the registered agency. State Apprenticeship Agency. We received 2 comments from the definition of the State Apprenticeship Agency. One comment stated that the proposed definition of the State Apprenticeship Agency would allow the State Apprenticeship Agency to assume the power of the State Apprenticeship Council. The other commenter sought the clarification on the proposed definition. In response, the proposed definition of the State Apprenticeship Agency as an agency of the state of the government that has responsibility and accountability for the apprenticeship within the state that reflects the department's determination. The only state with the government entry should be recognized with the registration agency in order to ensure the accountability oversight of the management of the state apprenticeship system. Federal purposes of the discussed as above, where the state apprenticeship agency has been recognized, the state apprenticeship agency must establish, maintain state apprenticeship council. Additionally, as explained in the statute 2913A, we have clarified the council operates for the direction of the state apprenticeship agency. Therefore, we have made no change with the proposed definition of the state apprenticeship agency, nor to the state apprenticeship agency role there other any authorized to register, oversee apprenticeship programs, agreement with the federal purpose of the state apprenticeship council. 2 commenters question the definition for the state apprenticeship council would mean that the council would only serve the advisory role rather than the regulatory role. One intent with the proposed rule was to provide the state apprenticeship goal with the serve with an advisory and or regulatory role, as explained further in the discussion 2913A. We have clarified the state apprenticeship of the council operates the direction of the state apprenticeship agency, depending on how the direction exercised the state apprenticeship council could serve either the regulatory advisory role with requirements for the operating of the state apprenticeship council set forth in statute 2913A2. B3, we have made no change to the proposed definition of the state apprenticeship council. Transfer several comments to note that the proposed revision regarding the apprenticeship transfer to 29.5b with the proposed new definition of the transfer statute 29.2 with the raised question with approval of the consent with the transfer the potential for the impact with the apprenticeship program sponsor. Several commenters questioned the need for the apprenticeship to indicate and initiate the request for the transfer, asserting that such latitude could be negable. The apprenticeship to transfer regulation registration with regard to the negative impact of the program sponsor. The other commenters suggest the program sponsor could be used for the provision definition of the transfer and apprenticeship to any other program and other employer without the apprenticeship consent thereby, potentially negatively impacting the safety of the welfare of the apprenticeship. We do not foresee that the transfer of the apprenticeship registration with one program to the other from the one employer to another would occur frequently on a regular basis. The intent of the provision is to provide flexibility with the apprenticeship to continue with his or her apprenticeship in changing circumstances such as the need for the geographical relocation for the personal reason. However, we agree with all the parties for the transfer may be made in agreement in order to avoid potential negative impacts. Accordingly, we have to provide the definition to clarify the order for the transfer to occur with the effect of the parties of the apprenticeship, and each of the apprenticeship committee or the program sponsor must reach the agreement regarding the shifts of the apprenticeship of the registration of one of the program to another from the one employer within a program to another employer with the same program. Eligibility procedure for the registration of the apprenticeship program. Statute 29.3. This section addresses the criteria for the process of the registration agency registered apprenticeship program. The general the comments we received with the support with the proposed change with the design to ensure the high quality of the registered apprenticeship program, to assist with the program sponsored through early intervention, the technical assistance, foster closer with the working relations between the apprenticeship sponsor with the registered agency. Resources: the several commenters raised the concern about the adequacy of the resources available to the Department of Labor, the Office of Apprenticeship, for the following through the requirements pertaining to supervision and registration. 2 commenters asked who would pay for the technical assistance provided with the new program, and responses under the current regulation necessary to carry out the requirements of Statute 29.3 would be responsible for the registration agency, including the provision of technical assistance, seeking registration authority for the federal purpose that must be prepared with the provided with the resources necessary for those responsibility. Professional registration proposed in 29.3G with the new provision with established the provisional approval for the 1-year new program that the registration agency the preliminary determined to comply with the Part 29 must. Commenters supported with the concept of the provisional registration for the new program to express with the concern of the Department of Labor. The concerns currently appear to understand would not have the adequate resources to perform the review required at the end of the program's first year to determine if the program should receive the full recognition. Some commenters observed that the determination for the grant provision for the program approval with regard to the language belongs to the state apprenticeship agency. As discussed in the notice of NPRM, the provisional registration concept is added enhancement monitoring of the performance of the apprenticeship program registered for federal purpose of the Office of Apprenticeship, the reckoning of the state apprenticeship agency, i.e. the registration agency, as we have repeatedly emphasized, the state derived the any authority exercised for the federal purpose for the recognition according with the department. Therefore, the provisional program approval does not imping on the state authority. We recognize the adequate resources required for successful address for the additional workload associated with the provisional registration procedure. Accordingly, we rely on the state resources to provide with their services to the state, where the Office of Apprenticeship serves as the registered agency, with the discussed below in the Title 29 2913. Recognition of the state apprenticeship agency state that seeking the registration authority for the federal purposes must provide sufficient resources to perform all the functions of the registration agency. We have revised the statute 29.3G with the clarify the registration agency responsible for reviewing the program with the quality, conforming with the requirements of this part of the end of the first year after the registration of the program that conforms with the permanent for the requirement of the Part 29 meet, the permanently approved and provisional approval may be extended through the end of the first training cycle of the program, not an operating no conforming with the regulations during the provisional approval period must be recommended with the deregistration procedures. Program reviews. Proposed 29H provided the satisfactory review at the end of the first full training cycle will result in the removal of the provision approval. Provided the subsequent reviews will be conducted no less than frequently than on the 5-year cycle. A few commented the question how the 5-year cycle of the program ran, which will generally correspond with the completion of the first full training cycle with the line with the company based on the hybrid program that may be that the training cycle with different lengths. Other commenters question on the 5-year cycle will provide the 29H3 with the conflict with the state apprenticeship agency program review cycle that might occur with the most more frequently response with the competency based. The hybrid programs also have the requirements of the on-the-job work experience associated with the program completion, but the cycle for each of them may vary with the length of the traditional apprenticeship program. To address this 29.3H with the final rule clarify that the subsequent review that will be completed after the satisfactory review at the end of the first full training cycle must be conducted with not less than every 5 years. And section 29.3H does not preclude the state apprenticeship agency from conducting a review for the frequently then prescribed if the review to demonstrate the provisional registered program that satisfactory met with the requirements of the power of the time for short of the typically 5-year provisional registration may be transformed with the permanent registration. The time frame for approval of the proposed modifications. Alright, I'm going to cut the tape there. We'll stop back at time frame approval and proposal modifications.